We're back here tonight, and beginning today, pastors in the Presbyterian Church are allowed to perform marriage ceremonies for same-sex couples. It was just last week in a monumental move. The church voted in favor of inclusion. Reverend J. Barrett Lee is a former pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Boonville. He's now working in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Reverend Barrett, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I wanted to have you on the show because it was back in 2011 when same-sex marriage became legal here in New York State, and you came out as a member of the church, a pastor in favor of marriage equality. So it was last week, though, by a vote of 429 to 175, leaders of this 1.76 million member Presbyterian Church voted during their General Assembly, basically saying that in their book of order, describing marriage as between two people. This has got to be a huge deal for you personally.
Yes, absolutely it is. What it means is that starting now in states where marriage equality has already been recognized by the state government, pastors such as myself can officiate at weddings between people of the same gender without fear of prosecution by the church, without fear of losing their jobs, basically. And in a year, over the course of the next year, presbyteries will be voting on this amendment to change the definition of marriage from a man and a woman to two people. And if this amendment passes, that is, if it's ratified by a majority of the presbyteries in the country, then that language will be changed in our book of order. And then in that case, it won't just be states where the state has already recognized it, but it'll be nationwide.
I want to get back to, and that's a move in the right direction in where you guys have been wanting to go with all of this. I want to get back to what you mentioned, the risk factor, because it was back in 2011 when you came on our noon broadcast with me. We did an interview when same-sex marriage was approved here in New York State. And in many respects, you were coming out, risking your job, your career, by saying that you were for same-sex marriage.
Yes, that is technically true.
And how do you feel by you coming out and saying, you know, I'm for this? How do you think, what kind of impact did that have in Boonville? Boonville, obviously a relatively small town here in upstate New York. Yes.
Yeah, well, at the time, the reception was very positive. The congregation that I served then and have many fond memories of, they are a very open and welcoming group of people. The biggest impact that it had was from one of the elders in our congregation, a gentleman by the name of Rick Westerman Bellinger, who has since passed away, sadly. But he had been a member of the church for 50 years and had been a gay man living in the closet. And after the recognition of marriage equality in New York State, he finally felt the liberty to come out to his church and to say to the people who have known him his whole life, folks, this is who I am. Love me or leave me. And this church chose love me. And I couldn't have been more proud of them than I was on that day, and couldn't have been more proud of him for his courage in owning who he is and sharing that with us and allowing us to take that journey with them, which in the end was a testimony to the all-inclusive love of God, which I have pledged my life to be preaching to the world.
Reverend J. Barrett, thank you so much, Reverend J. Barrett Lee, for joining us here tonight on the program. And we're definitely going to continue to follow this story because obviously there's going to be new votes that are going to be happening, talking about more inclusion as far as same-sex marriage. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Don.
And we'll be right back.